Hello, welcome back. In this video, we are going to build our first Spring Boot application. I am going to build a simple application to demonstrate some of the important Spring Boot concept. So, let me give you a summary of the application that I am going to build. I am not going to build a small application like to-do list. No, I'm going to build a real application that will demonstrate some important concept of Spring Boot. So, I am going to build a banking application, a simple banking application where a customer can create an account, a bank account. A customer can deposit, do some transaction in that bank account like deposit, withdraw, and balance check. So that is the application that we are going to build. To build this application, I want you to go to your browser and open Spring Initialize R. In the Spring Initialize R, you will find this interface, and inside this interface, you just go into your browser and type start.spring.io. It will open this Spring Initialize R. Select Java as your language. Then at this point, for the project, select Maven project. So we are going to use Spring Boot version 3.35, and the project metadata. You have group, artifact, name and description, and the package. So group is just it's like a package. So in this case, I have decided to use com.banking.app. The artifact is like the name of your service or application, banking service. The name the name that will be reflected on your applications.properties file, used as the name of your system or service, banking service. This a description, then package name. As a best practice, I like combining the group with the service name. So in this case, com.banking.app.banking.service separated with periods. Now, the packaging that I want is Java, and for the sake of this video, I'm going to use Java 17. So there are several, you are free to use any version of Java, but for me, for the sake of this video, I'm going to use Java 17. There are other Java versions like 23, 21, 17, and also Java 8. So I will then add the dependencies. Some of the dependencies that are needed is Spring Web. You can search your dependency here or click this add dependency. So these are the 4 dependencies that I am going to use. I'm going to use Spring Web. This is for building RESTful application. It will come as a starter, Spring Boot starter web. So there is this MySQL driver. This will help me to connect to my SQL database. I will also use Spring Data JPA. What is the purpose of Spring Data JPA? Spring Data JPA is a Java Persistence API layer that deals or handles with data. It provides some methods that have been customized for SQL query. So instead of writing some traditional SQL query, this Spring Data JPA provide those query for you. And I will also need one more dependency called Lombok. Lombok will help me avoid the need of writing too much boilerplate code. Then generate this code, and after the generating, you will go to a folder where you have generated your Spring Boot application. So in this case, it is on my downloads. You will find this folder, bankingsystem.zip. Extract it in a folder of your choice, and then open the pom.xml. In this case, I have extracted it inside this folder, and uh, I have opened the pom.xml using IntelliJ. In this case, I am using IntelliJ as my IDE of choice. You can use Eclipse, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to use IntelliJ. So if I open the IntelliJ, you will see that once you open it, it will take some time to build and to download those dependencies. So in this case, I have this folder structure. There is this pom.xml. So the pom.xml file is how it contains the XML configuration of your project. So there is also SRC, main class, Java, and here is where you put all your packages. To begin with, I have told you as a prerequisite, it is good to have MySQL installed on your system because we are going to use MySQL. MySQL 8.0 will come with MySQL Workbench. The Workbench is a client tool that we will use to interact with MySQL server. So you can create the database. So in this case, I will create database banking DB. I will execute it. By executing it, you can see that this database has been created. So ensure you have MySQL installed. Also ensure that you have a Postman installed on your system. Let me go back to IntelliJ. In this case, I want us to create several packages. I told you that it is good to organize your Spring Boot application into packages. I will create several packages. I will create the controllers. I will create the repository. I will create the responses, and I will create the utils. So I usually see that as the best practice when writing Spring Boot application. So I will go and click on new Java package. I will start with controller. I will then create another package here, new Java package. I will create a service. I will create another package, new Java package. I will call this repository. I will also create another package called exception. Exception. This is for exemption handling. I will also create another package and I will call this utils. Utils. This is for holding the constants and some helper code. I will also create another package and I will call this package response. Response. I will create another package and I will call it request, or rather let me call it entities. So I think with this we are good to go. So the first thing is connecting your Spring Boot application with the database. To connect your Spring Boot application with the database, we are going to the resource packages. There is a file called applications.properties. Here is whereby you set the properties for connecting with the database. First of all, I will start by defining the port. You can say server.port. I want my application to run in port 8080. So then here I will define some database connection. Database connection properties. Let me explain this property. For you to connect with the database, you need the IP address of the database, you need the port, you need the driver, You also need the database name. You also need the username, and you need the password for your database. So these are some of the parameters that you need for you to connect with the database. So I will start with the first three. IP address is where your database is running. In this case, it is on my localhost. The port and the driver and the database. I will start with these four. These four, you put them in a property called URL. So I will say spring dot data spring.data source dot url is equals to, so we shall start with JDBC. This means Java database connectivity. Then the driver is my SQL. Then the IP address is localhost. We are running on my localhost. The port. This DB is running on port 3006. Then the name of the database. I have created a database called Banking DB. So this one carries the first four. The other one is spring dot data source dot username is equals to, my username is root, spring dot data source dot password. My password, I think, is p@55word. That is my password. Then there is a Hibernate property. So I am done with all these properties. There is a Hibernate property that allows you to map the database class, the Java classes to database tables. So so that when you run your application, it will either update the database table or create new. So there is a property called spring.jpa.hibernate.ddr auto. I will set this to create. Okay, now I think with this I can run my application. To run your application, you just hit this run button at the top there, so that your application can run. So I like formatting my code in a good manner. So once the applications run, you will see the port number. You will see the port number where your application runs, and some of the properties like Tomcat. As I told you, Spring Boot is a standalone application that comes with embedded server. So remember, in the last few videos, I have taught you about the Spring Boot annotation, and I have told you some of the annotations, like at Spring Boot annotation. I told you that this is a combination of at configuration, at auto configuration, and at component scan. And the main class is the entry point for any Spring Boot application. So that is it for this video. In the next upcoming video, we shall see how to create database classes inside our Spring Boot application. If you have not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and like the video.